So today I'm Ranjeet Shrivastav. I'm an architect, in fact, an enterprise architect by profession, and certainly a data architect by from heart. So I mean, as far as architecture concerned, all business, data, application, and technology are part of enterprise architecture. And I work into all these four pillars. But yes, even if you have four son or four daughter, one is little closer to your heart, and that is the case with me as well. So data architecture is little closer to my heart, and hence I keep doing a lot of things around it, and I have I'm also into writing. I wrote couple of um, authored couple of books and all, and then um, did some created some IP as well. So I have nearly four IPs. Three of them are into data and one into microservices architecture. So in fact, even that microservices architecture principle related IP is also aligned to data. So this data future proofing is all about bringing your data to life even after decades, half a century or century. Okay. So it is not like data is what data you are generating today is going to be of use for certain period or so. Okay. So tell me one thing. I mean, in cloud, in cloud environment, what happens? What is the primary expenses of any um, cloud deployment? Primarily, if you look at two, one is a storage, another is the processing. Okay. So GPU, CPU, whatever you say. So, and that is exorbitantly high in long term for a potentially, I mean, mid-size or large-size enterprises. It comes in when if you look at a large, I mean, budget, or I should say, a big fat budget goes into your cloud expenses. If you are potentially into cloud-based enterprise-wide deployment or even partial enterprise-wide deployment. We will talk about even rates and all. So this is a paradigm that actually can save up to 90% of storage and cloud cost of an enterprise. While I'm saying 90%, I'm little generous. It might go even beyond that. I mean, I'm just trying to be a little realistic here. So what and how this data future proofing works, that we'll talk about. We'll talk about a couple of its what you call methods, procedures, how it can be achieved, how it can be deployed. We'll talk about a lot of facts, points which we can think of. Okay, so let us talk about few facts. So global cloud storage is estimated to be in several exabytes. Okay, 1 exabyte is equal to 1 billion GB, and that is growing continuously. These are few facts which we generally crunch and we talk around, and it is all available on internet. So I mean, the revenue of cloud companies from data storage in the cloud, I mean, that exceeded 100 billion annually. With I'm not considering thousands of other players. We are talking about only I mean, major core players to whom we call hyperscalers, that is AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. So unstructured data in any database worldwide is vast, as we know. So and it is again growing exorbitantly, and it is in multi zettabyte. Again, the moment it comes to zettabyte, it is a trillion of gigabytes. Okay, so these are a few facts where we thought of bringing in and talking about to show that how important is to um, saving and cutting your cloud bills. So the volume of data is exploding with more than more data having been created in past 2 years than in entire previous system. So this is the fact. What happens? Here again, it is written that your data enterprise data generally doubles in 1.2 year. In fact, if you are really into data and that is your core business, it is less than even a year. Okay, so it is if it is 1 TB today, so next year it will be 2 TB. Means by next year it will 1 plus 2 means 3 TB. And next to next year, the third year, it will be 2 ja 4. So 4 plus 2, 6 and on 7 year, 7 TB means third year you will have 7 TB data. If it is in petabyte, 7 petabyte of data. So the influx of data is putting a stream of IT structure, infrastructure with 55% IT firm reporting a slowdown. So what happens is the moment you exorbitantly grow, your enterprise data swells, obviously your IT infrastructure sinks down in the sense it doesn't practically sinks down, but the purpose which you meant for the IT infrastructure which were meant for to handle, for example, certain level of data or processing unit, or your what you call cloud-based infra. So that runs out of their capacity. So so a storage fact. Okay, let us talk. This is very important. This is what this is all about, the data future proofing. So average cost of storing single TB of data in cloud is nearly 3,351 a year. Okay, US dollar. So the file sharing services we steadily depend on for on the go access to costing companies as average 450 per user. So the standard storage pricing for example, this Amazon S3 is nearly 0.026 per GB. In fact, if you go for calculation on the portal, it may show 0.0026 or something, but the ultimate billing, which there are a lot of clauses. Okay, so for initial few GB free, then up to this TB, this rate, up to this TB, this there are different slabs. Okay, even cold storage is 0.01 per GB. Okay, so if you calculate it, it will look something like this. So this is per GB per month. Okay, so per year it is $3. Then if you have even 1 TB of data, your enterprise need to pay $3,000 per year. If it is simply a petabyte, it is this much. It is in few thousands. So that is not a small thousand, that is 3.1 million. Okay, so this is exorbitantly high. And I'm talking about this is warm storage, and this one is cold storage. So you might have heard about warm storage, for example, S3 and all, and Glacier is the cold storage example in few moments. So after 5 years, the same number swells up to this. This, barely, what do you call, $125,000 swells up to 2 million. Okay, little more than 2 million in 5 years. So this is the way it grows. So that is certainly matter of concern for any enterprise. Those who get into cloud, the cloud hyperscalers or your vendors or service providers promises a lot. They give you show you very floral or what you call exaggerated future that yes, it is going to save a lot of your revenue in long run and all. Trust me, actually in long run it is going to heavily cost to your pocket if you don't manage your data well. So I will give you one example. I think more or less everyone is aware about data warehouse kind of thing which happens around you, right? Almost every small, medium, or large scale enterprise has certain data warehouse, yeah, more or less in all the form. So the moment you think of a data warehouse, what happens is you have, for example, you have multiple sources, and there is somewhere on the total size of the source is 4 TB. So what you do while creating the data warehouse, you first create the staging, then create ODS, and then finally the EDW, and on top of that EDW, you create data marts, and then the data lake, or even you create data lake first and then EDW. It is again chicken and egg. There are certain standard. I mean rules that need to be validated before implementing. This is only hypothetical example. So you bring that 4TB to here, and then again create ODS 4TB, then the EDW 4TB, and then data mod. It might vary. Okay, I mean, don't take my word. 4TB is 4TB. There are chances that while you bring it to what you call a star schema or dimensional modeling format, it might be little less in a way. If you have certain managed data, MDM layer and CDM layer, I mean, established into your enterprise, it may be 3TB or 2TB. Okay, but still, it is multiplying, right? The actual data is 4TB. If you could have done your analytics on top of it, if you could have, okay, I mean, this footprint could have been avoided. So 8, 4, 12, 16, for 20. So 4 became 20 TB. So primarily your data is 4 TB that swells up to 20 TB in cloud. Maybe even if it is in place of 4 TB, even if it is 8 TB in total after all this, that is anyway going to cost you. Your enterprise need to pay through their noses. So this is what we need to take care of. And all the data I'm telling you might not be required for the purpose or your DSS or your analytic Mint, which actually analytical workbench actually require for the purpose of analyzing the data. So the moment it comes to data which is going to be, I mean, stay with you for decades or few centuries, okay, it may pass from generation to generation. So we should not forget the importance of this managed data platform for enterprise. It is meant for long term. Here in this case, a long term beyond you can think of, as I told. It is not like for next 2 year, 5 year, 10 year. See, any technology that keeps evolving, and any employee, consultant, and vendor, they may come and go. They will keep, I mean, changing. But the data which you are, I mean, accumulating, their relevance will always be there, right? In an enterprise. For example, if you are a healthcare organization, the data which you are generating, the treatment you are providing to your patients, the different cases which are coming to your hospital or your healthcare organization, you being a provider of healthcare, that has tremendous value. I will come with I will explain one what you call case. We will discuss one use case as well while going through all this, how it is actually making sense. So you might be knowing about data marketplace as well. So there are people who are encashing. We have given a word called what you call monetization of data. They are monetizing their data in terms of owning and holding few super rich domain specific data. So let us assume Corona happened 2 years back, right? It continued for almost 2 years, and millions of people's life were at stake. I mean, we lost a lot of lives, very important life too. Similar pandemic happened 100 years back. I think even 200 years back as well. So there are certain pattern. Okay, think of a situation where we could have captured all the data while it happens 100 years back. We would have been knowing that what kind of medication actually worked in such situation, and which stages of life. I mean, for example, whether it impacted more to women, kids, adults, or whether it actually impacted more to Middle East people, Southeast Asian people, American people, European people, right? So a lot of information could have been of help. But here what happened during these 2 years of pandemic, we actually were experimenting. All our healthcare providers even experimenting. They were testing, and then the moment they notice some pattern, they share to the world. It comes to the news and media, and people start following it and adapting it, right? But if we would have been knowing this, the vaccine could have been produced even within few weeks or month, right? And it took more than a year. So it would have saved millions of people's life. So I mean to say the data is important, and whether it is healthcare related data or insurance data or aviation data or even environmental and weather data, socioeconomic data or behavioral data even. Okay, geographical, political, geopolitical data, space data. Or the research data of any field of a study you can imagine of, you can think of. More past data or the proven historical data can help in better future proofing and future findings. Okay, because data is the new gold, data is the new oil, which we generally hear always. So here, as I told, we are talking about data for generations. So we are going to consider the importance of data till eternity. But the biggest and most important question here is which data, okay, that need to be preserved for future uses. Okay. Till now, while creating a data warehouse or data lake, we were thinking of data storage for next few years, right? I mean, we are going to do some DSS. We need to create a data warehouse that can sustain for next 2 year, 4 year, or 5 year. Right. Okay, bring in this technology. At least it will survive for next 5 years. Then we'll change. We'll see. We'll implement 6 hour or 7 hour principles, and we'll try to see how can we replace or whatever. So we should be sensitive about its significance and relevance. I'm just trying to emphasize on that. Okay, what I'm talking about, I'm talking about future proofing of data, means only the data which is relevant after 50 years, after 100 years. Okay, and how we can reduce the footprint. While considering future proofing of data, we need to be sensitive about various aspects of data, including its relevance, its relevant grain level, its context, its format, its dimension for different perspective, the views and the viewpoint. Okay, what is view and viewpoint? I will show you. The data, same data, can have different meaning for. If you look at different perspective, right? So, for example, this is a number. Okay, if this guy looks at it, this guy will tell this is 9, right? If this guy looks at it, this will say, this guy will say it is 6, right? So view is what you see, and the viewpoint is where you are looking from, which side you are looking from, right? Let us talk about the vulnerability. As I told, the perspective of data is very important. So the moment it comes to perspective, we look into its perspective and we try to check that what all data need to be taken care and considered of. So for example, personal data and sensitive data, like your name, address, medical detail, bank detail, sensitive data like your racial information, your political opinion, whether you support BJP or Congress, or whether you are Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, whether you are trade union association information, or any health or your other information related to your socio-political issues. Okay, so those informations are again very subjective, whether it is really required. For example, I just assume one case: an enterprise has been doing its business for last more than, for example, 2 decades. Any enterprise, all of a sudden that enterprise is acquired by another enterprise or another business house from some different domain or sector. For example, a retail company acquired a software development company or a manufacturing company. It happens. Practically, it happens. So, for example, this Flipkart or Amazon, in place of developing their own end-to-end product development unit, what they do is first deploy bring on board some vendor or so, and then they acquire them. Or a manufacturing company acquires a marketing research company. What will be the future of those personal and sensitive data captured by that first enterprise? If that data future proofing was not done, so obviously there are chances of accidental exposure of those tons of personal and sensitive data. procured by the previous organization, isn't it? Because they might not be knowing that importance of the sensitivity of content or data captured by them, or the legitimate reason behind giving a secure or protected layer on top of this data. The same thing could have been handled in hassle-free way once you have already implemented a technology that can safeguard it, right? So what this future proofing does and how it can be implemented, we'll talk here. We'll talk about all these phases like identification, elimination, future proofing, and then organizing the data, its storage, and so forth, so on and so forth. So what will happen, as I told, assume one hypothetical use case. This corona, okay, let me take you to corona again, 2 years back, 2020, 2021, or 21, 22, whatever. So I mean to say, for example, Ranjeet Shrivastav, got corona and he was diagnosed positive, and he stay in Bangalore. His name is Ranjit Kumar Srivastava. He works in an organization where he is chief architect. He works into he is male. He lives in Bangalore, Electronic City area, and whatnot. He was admitted to Apollo or Fortis, and this is medication happened. This was the symptom. This was the treatment. Okay. Now tell me one thing: if these data are getting or going to be used for research purpose 50 years down the line, okay, after 50 years, and someone is trying to find some pattern, okay, so does it make any sense that whether that patient name was Ranjit Kumar Srivastava, or whether he was exactly what was his date of birth, what was his Aadhaar number or PAN number, what was his UID, and where was he admitted? What is important is a male of age between 40 to 50 who was in southern part of India, maybe due to weather and all that may impact their research outcomes, got this kind of symptom due to COVID, and he was cured using this medication for this many days, or this potential or this salt capacity or whatever. Do you really need Ranjit Srivastava's Aadhaar number, PAN number, or what you call? What is his address? He stay in this apartment and this floor, and this exactly was his doctor, and he stay exactly in Bangalore, and whether he was a graduate or postgraduate. Does it make any sense? No, right? How exactly was his other X-rays or what do you call ECG or MRI, which didn't give any outcome? Do you really need it? No. So what happens? So the moment a patient undergoes some treatment, they have structured data. They have generated a lot of structured data, a lot of unstructured data, a lot of what you call analog data, right? So all those data might not be of any use. What is of use are few attributes which I talked about. So you will have to identify those data using this methodology called identification, that what exactly will be required after 10 year, 20 year, or 50 year, 100 year. Then we'll have to eliminate few data like sensitive data. As I told just now, like personal data, sensitive data, we'll have to eliminate that. Then we'll have to do the future proofing. We'll have to apply that on those top of data. Then we'll have to organize the data. Then we'll have to think about storage. Why? Storage is important because I'm talking about 50 year, after 50 year. I'm talking about after 100 year. I'm talking about after even 500, 200 or 500 year. Okay, just assume hypothetically. Storage is important. For example, if you store that data in RDBMS called Oracle or SQL Server, and if the technology itself is obsolete or Oracle is no more there after 20 years or 50 years, do we need to mute someone? So that storage methodology is very important. We'll talk about that as well. Okay. So identifying, for example, this is one use case which I talked about, healthcare data. So we are trying to identify that what data is actually important and in what format, right? So this is the age of that guy. This is the encounter date, means when exactly that incident happened. Encounter in the sense the day that guy that this treatment or whatever thing happened. The diagnosis, whether it was COVID or some flu or whatever, dengue. What were the symptoms? What medication were given? What was the status? Whether that guy was died, discharged, or whatever the status. We don't. Do you really need to know the name of that guy? I don't think so. I mean, actually, these are all. Do you need to know the phone number of that patient or their guardian or whatever? Do you need to know the SSO number? No, right? And various other information might not be of any use for research purpose. So we need to identify them. Then we need to eliminate a couple of data. Which data? These personal data. For example, their name, their date of birth. These are all personal in nature. Exact address, phone number. So we need to identify them. We need to identify the sensitive data as well. For example, medical condition, whether it was critical or whether the racial condition, black, white, this and that, right? So this might be another information which may be of sensitive in nature, right? Whether he died or not. So the moment we talk about future proofing, what we do, the data which we identify, we capture it, and in some cases we may need to even pre-process it, okay, before we future proof that data. So it doesn't make any sense storing all this data with their all reports and images and medical transcription data of doctor voice and video, this and that for decades, right? It is obsolete. What is important is which you have identified for your data future proof. So then we need to organize it. Either you put it into a raw form, into data lake or lake house, whatever. It's up to you. And then you need to get into storage. Your storage should be of open format. It should be a generic platform based system, vendor independent infrastructure, right? No proprietary format storage is recommended. And we need to ascertain accessibility for future proof data sets, availability of future proofing data management and storage upgradation. So these all are the parameters which we need to actually take care of. Okay, so while we talk about this future, don't you think that this level of identification of data and elimination of data and bringing it to a level where we can capture and preserve the data only which is required after 50 years. So every data has a shelf life. For example, in few organizations which I know, okay, primarily into financial domain and taxation and all, your data are supposed to be preserved for 5 to 7 years. I think in India it is 5 years. So it varies in various countries. After that, that data has actually no importance in financial sector. Similarly in healthcare, but again for research purpose, that how inflation happened, what were the rate, how dollar value behaved, how Indian rupees behaved, how Indian rupees reacted to certain condition in European market, how Indian rupees reacted to certain condition in or socio-economic condition in American market or Middle Eastern market or Southeastern some Southeast Asian market. For that purpose we need to capture couple of information. We may not need to know what was the income of Ranjeet Shrivastav in 2021 exactly, right? But what were the income of certain group of people, okay, what was the what were the average income of Bangalore as a city? What were the average income of IT professionals during this period? What were the average income of doctors during that period? Those data might be of certain use, right? So the grain level even will change. You don't need the lowest grain level data. Lowest grain level data might take tons of your cloud storage. So if you do such level of identification and elimination, trust me, you will end up by reducing your footprint. I mean, I'm not going to be generous this time, by almost 98, 99%. Okay. And now, once I say 91, 99%, 98, 99%, I will take you to the previous data set, which I was showing you. You can think of how much are you going to save. Okay. In place of 2 million, I mean, you will end up by paying to this hyperscaler like AWS, Azure, or whoever in pennies. You might be paying in few $100s. So today it might be of not, I mean, potentially a burden to your enterprise, but after 4 or 5 years down the line, and I mean, it is going to be exorbitantly high. And I am talking about 50 and 100 years. Think of it. These numbers will be in billion and trillion. Okay. You go down here. This is zettabyte, exabyte, even in exabyte, how much dollars you are paying. I mean, it is exorbitantly high. So this is how it is going to help you. You need to future proof. You need to organize it in a way that can be stored in a format which is accessible and usable. Even, for example, this Parquet file and CSV and all, it was there 50 years back, and it will be there after even 50 years, accessible and processable, ready to be used by any technology in future. Okay, I am just giving one example. It can be anything else. Okay, so this is the claim which I was talking about. The data volume, in place of, if it is 10 TB, even if I am claiming 90%, it will become 100 TB, it will become 10 TB, and the expenses will be, in place of 500,000, it will be hardly 50,000, right? So this is all about saving your what you call dollars while you deploy your data into cloud. So it has potential to verbally, in writing up to 90%, verbally up to 99%. It is, and we have done few dry runs for POCs and implemented at few customer locations, even at use cases where the relevance was little low. It was not exactly healthcare. The research relevance was little tricky because the data were required from multiple agencies. For example, financial research. Financial research doesn't require only, for example, you are going to play with a banking data, right? One banking data is not enough for your research. That require potentially all banks put together and various other parameters that may impact your socioeconomic data, which might have been collected from various regions, the weather data, that how was the weather during that period in India, in Singapore, in America, in Europe, because weather also have potentially very high impact on the national financial outcomes. For example, if it is it didn't rain into certain region, your outcome will be different. If it rained heavily and flooded, then the outcome will be different. If there was earthquake and other scenario, I mean, I'm trying to say that it is not exactly the one enterprise or one entity which can fulfill your requirement in certain areas. But yes, I mean, you being an enterprise, you being into a specific domain, you can actually bring your data to life. You can monetize your data for various purposes. Nowadays, specifically in LML, large language model, and you might have heard about all this chat GPT and all, one of the large language model which is popular, and AI ML scenario. I mean, trust me, this guy is going to create a huge market. That the companies who have potentially rich domain data with them, they can monetize their data and they can make billions. Okay, in some cases, the forecast is that in some cases, if potentially very high valued data can generate more money from their data, monetize their data better than their core product. Okay, for example, automobile data. Your even government, those who are collecting a lot of criminal records, a lot of traffic data, people movement, people demographics. So even governments are planning to monetize those data in a way. I mean, they can't compromise with your privacy and what you call sensitivity of your data. There are certain ways to handle it. So they will anonymize it whenever and wherever required. They will, again, the way method which I mentioned, elimination and selection method. So that will be applied to bring it to actual use, so that various other research can be done, and those data can be the capability of those data can be leveraged for betterment of the human being and the world. So this is the ultimate purpose of data future proofing, and this is data future proofing. I hope you all liked it. Thank you very much, Suresh. This is all from my side.
Thank you, Ranjit, for your insightful presentation. I have one question here. Yeah, are there any products which can optimize the current data structure?
See, optimization of data structure, there are a lot of products in the market. I think you are referring to the modeling part of it. So model can anyway be structured, but the one which I'm talking about, there is no product as such. Actually, few of the platform companies are working on it. I will not name them. They have not advertising, and yes, so it requires a lot of human intervention. Lot of, for example, for as I just discussed, healthcare domain specific data. So it requires potentially a lot of domain specific knowledge. The business guy need to sit together. They need to coordinate with the research scholars that what kind of data you really look into, or you need to look at after 50 years. Do you really need Ranjeet Shrivastav exact name? What was the spelling of his name? RNJWT. Do you really need his date of birth? When exactly he was, which date he born? Whether he was a Scorpion or whether he was what you call Sagittarius or whatever Aries. So do you really need to know that? Then they will tell no. So the guy who is going to play around and filter those data, select, eliminate, and what you call select the data for the future proofing. That requires the moment. For example, in any database design, you need a data modeler, right? So this is going to be a data modeler's job itself. So I'm little specialized. Like data model also have different sets, right? ER modeling, dimensional modeling. Okay. So data vault, that dimensional modeling, you talk about star schema, snowflake schema, right? Data vault is nothing but again your star schema plus your 3NF of ER models fused together and came as came in the form of your data vaults, where we talk about what you call satellite hub and link, right? So I mean to say this is a special skill set that required to be applied, and the method has already been created, which I was discussing at high level. It is not 100% though. I didn't talk about because we had certain limited time frame, and we had to talk about about the subject within that time frame. If I start discussing it, it will take I mean at least a complete session of few weeks, detailed full day sessions. So this is at high level. So I hope I was able to answer your question.
So he said, thank you. Any other questions?
So any other question, please?
All right. So no questions, but we have a bad news. The Lalit, who is supposed to give a presentation, he couldn't make it because of some, unavoidable situation. So I think this will end our, event. So feel free to reach us if you have any questions, and like us or follow us on the LinkedIn, and thank you for joining this session, and we will see you in our next event soon. Thank you all for joining.